Hi folks, Casual Dad here with another video game video, I suppose. I just realized that I've been spending a bunch of time playing Overwatch recently, or Overwatch 2, and really hadn't been talking about it at all. So I've been really working on my tank play, just doing a lot of ranked and casual games just to kind of build up my skills there so that I can be comfortable in that final role, where I already feel pretty good in support, which is kind of my main role, getting pretty comfortable with damage, but tank is always one where if I did full flex and I was placed tank, I was always like, I don't know if I can do this. So, um, and just to be clear on this too, I don't necessarily care about my rank. I want to do well, I want to perform well in the game and support the team, especially if I'm on a team of people who do care about their rank. So for that alone, I want to get better at this. But then also, this is the game that I use to spend time with my brother and my nephews while we're far away from each other. It's a nice where we can kind of spend that shared activities time and do something that we all enjoy together. And one of the things about being a casual gamer these days is a lot of those games you play, especially with you play or family, if you play with family or friends, on some level you do have to play competitively online. Like there are custom games for this, there are side games you can do, but they're not the same and they don't have anywhere near the same appeal. And also, I'm a long-term first-person shooter player, so I just kind of enjoy this myself. So, um, again, I've been practicing my tank. My main tanks are Orisa and Orisa and God, I'm blanking now. Orisa and Zarya. Zarya is more recent that I've started to do, and you're going to see some of that play in this game. I don't want to spoil this game too much, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right in.
Why seek answers when we do not know the question?
So this is one of my early plays as Sigma. I'm getting a sense of the reload time, the kind of charge time, how long it takes projectiles to get somewhere, what the area of the impact is. I've done some practice games. I've played Sigma. I understand his kit. Um, and we'll just go ahead and hide that. I just want to go ahead and kind of practice with them and understand, because my two favorite characters don't have like a barrier that actually seals off space. So like Orisa and Zarya, they both do pretty well with barriers, but they're not, you know, I mean, they do both do pretty well with durability and saving individual heroes, but they don't wall off entire regions and approaches, which is really important in this map. So I got on this map, was playing a game as tank, wanted to try Sigma, and what you're going to see, let me pause this real quick. What you're going to see, I'm going to go ahead and turn the sound down a little bit while I'm talking about this. Not sure if I can change the volume here. Man, okay. So I'll try to talk a little bit less, but a couple things I really want to highlight and are things that were talked about in. So my brother, so just backtracking a little bit, my brother watched this replay because I told him about it, because there were some things I was proud of, some things I was embarrassed by, and some things that I really wanted him to see. And he took it and he wrote me a really long review, and then in that same review he asked if he could post it to Reddit, which he did, to Overwatch Academy or Overwatch University, and then there was a bunch of commentary on it. So right off the bat, a couple things I learned. Number one is that my mouse sensitivity was way too high, which had never occurred to me because I'm used to playing Twitch first-person shooters and didn't understand that it should be lower. So it was about 20 times the recommended speed, so you're going to see a lot of twitching, especially when the fights get up close. Apologies for that. I've cut my mouse speed down dramatically, and so it's much better now, but we'll go ahead and jump back into the game. But that is a big thing to watch out for. Another thing, too, is that I do lose track of targets because of the mouse speed. That was a challenge there and something I'm working on. Also, with both Sigma's Rock and some other abilities later, you're going to see that I just kind of throw them at spaces where there's likely to be an opponent, and I need to be a lot more intentional about using that, especially with Zarya's bubbles when I'm bubbling my own team, with Sigma's rocks when I'm throwing them at opponents. I need to time that so that it's when they're doing something that I actually want to hit them with a rock for. And then with Orisa's javelin, I tend to fling the javelin quite a bit and just kind of get some lucky hits, and I'm pretty good with it, but I'm just sort of throwing it whenever it's ready rather than waiting to stop an ult or something for that matter, which I'm told I need to do better. So I've been told I make every mistake in the book, so we're just going to watch a little bit and see how this goes. I just wanted to call that out real quick. So that Doomfist dove in. He had us in a pretty good spot. He was injured, but at a point where he could use his shield to kind of come back from it a bit, and he's keeping our whole back line back. But he did a fist in to try to get back to his line and help hit those couple stragglers that were still holding back the rest of his team, and died almost immediately because his health was low. But that was a moment where he really had a chance to break through us and didn't. And you can see that my damage and support players in this are doing a lot of work, really holding down the fort here. I'm pretty proud of my Sigma play at this point, but I by no means think that I was the best player in this match, on my team, let alone at all. And you can see me losing track of targets up close. When they get in close, it's a little bit harder for me to track them, which is really bad when playing against Doomfist and Genji. I was really proud of this, though. We did a really good job holding the point here early on. And it was a great practice with Sigma. This is one of the first times I've ever used Sigma's ult. It's not bad, but I should have been up there doing some extra damage. Because I could have gotten at least one pick there, and I don't think I got a kill from that ult. And you can see here I got a little bit dizzy there trying to figure out where they all were and got a little bit surrounded. And died. Another reason I wanted to show this replay, just in general, is it's one of the times where I saw Doomfist played well. It's not perfect by any means, but it's some really good play. Let's see the player there, named Zushi. Stuck with Doomfist, did a pretty spectacular job on this game, and really handed me around quite a few times. And most of the times where the enemy team broke through our defenses, it was because of Doomfist. Genji did a lot of work too, but Doomfist had some really major shifts there where he just took out several of us or pushed us in different ways, and I'm going to watch out for some of those good ones. One of those top mistakes that I think I made, and there's just throwing that rock into space because I didn't aim it very well. One of the top issues that I have playing is against other tanks is, number one, I don't play heroes that really should play against other tanks. Oh, and there it is. But number two, when Sigma or Doomfist are using their defensive abilities, you're not supposed to shoot them, and Zarya too, because they have their charge-up abilities that they gain based on the more damage they take, so you stop shooting them when they put the arm up, or the bubble up, or do their various shield abilities. You can see here I switched to Zarya. I've been playing Zarya more. If you're in a match where you need to get kills as a tank, especially against other tanks, Zarya is particularly good, if you can aim, which I sometimes can't, and you can see I'm twitching quite a bit. This is one of the first times I've watched, and there, I should not have shot him because he gains extra armor based on how much damage I do to him, so I should need to be careful there. And you can see he's trying to use the charge fist to knock me into a hole. And here Genji's figured out this is where the threat is and gone ahead and flanked us. At this point, we're still doing okay. The payload is moving, but it doesn't have a ton of momentum, and we're not dying. There, right there, I should have killed him just a little bit earlier, and my aim was just off a couple key times.
Give them hell.
And also, you probably noticed I barely used my bubbles at all, on myself or on my teammates. Still getting a handle on the cooldowns in those and figuring out when to use them, and getting better at just observing what's going on and what I should be doing. So like right there, I've got a bunch of players to the left that I should be watching. See a Reaper there who would have been a perfect bubble target, and I totally missed it. Even right there, I could have dropped the bubble on any of them, and it would have been life-saving. And they did okay, but that was more luck and their skill than me being there to help. And I really could have made that better, gotten the damage buff to myself. That wasn't bad, but I didn't contribute as much to that fight as I wanted to. And that's one of the big things I want to watch to improve. There I did a bubble. With Zarya, one of the things that was talked about a lot is you want to drop the bubble. Oh, and then he Meteor Strike to save himself. And boom. If I recall, he got more than one of us there. Yeah, he got two of us. Yeah, impressive play by the Doom getting that on there. Ooh, and they killed us all because he took out two of us with that punch. That was very good. And so you can see that Genji and that Doomfist really doing some work here. And then they pretty much have it at this point. But this still is a point where we could turn this. And that wasn't the worst ult. Even though I died, it did really help the team, especially that Mei really turned that around. So I'm proud of that. It wasn't the best. It was a bit of a panic thing because I knew I was about to die and dropped the ult because I had it charged. It was a decent play. But it could have been better. And it could have not died in the process. And there I dropped a bubble too soon. I saw fire coming through and assumed they were actually taking fire, but didn't take long enough to see someone actually hurt and use it a little bit more judiciously. And then my cooldown was up, so when it was actually good to use, I didn't have it ready. And our Mei there, trying her best. She did a very good job. We had good players in both teams. And here I tried Orisa just because she's been my main. I'm dying a lot with Zarya. I understand Orisa's kit a little bit better, and I wanted to make space to kind of deal with some of this ultra aggression to give my team a little bit more room to keep up. But I dove right in and died immediately, just because I had not been playing as Orisa all game. So there we go. We lost that round 1. We go to round 2.
Score 0-3. Switching sides.
And I do want to spectate some of the other players, but for the sake of this replay, I did want to spectate myself to kind of watch my play. When you're actually playing, it's a lot harder to make these split-second decisions or kind of think about what you should do in different situations because you're playing. You're busy being distracted and figuring out what in the heck is going on. So. I've been really enjoying this game. Overwatch 2 is...
Ready for battle.
I mean, I played a whole lot of Overwatch 1. I played a decent amount of Overwatch 1. I played a whole lot of Team Fortress 2. That's where I came to this from. That was where I really got into playing the game, especially with my brother. And a couple things I've been told about. The tank's biggest role is to make space. To kind of clear out log jams, to kind of deal with problem players, or problem heroes, but then also especially to deal with the squishy ones and back. And I often end up dueling with the opposing tank, which is one of the things you're supposed to do on some level, just to keep the tank from getting too out of control, but not to the level that I do it. And you see me there shooting at Genji while he's doing his deflect, just because I was on autopilot, just shooting on down. And there I didn't even notice that Genji got behind us. I keep calling him Loki because that's his name. And there I was dealing with the squishies, dealing with some damage, and but there I just kind of ignored that Junkrat. I wanted to keep up the momentum, but had he stayed behind us, that would have been a real problem. And you can see me using that javelin. I'm pretty good at landing the hits, but not necessarily meaningful ones. So I'll hit the hero, but not in a moment where I really need to do it. And here I definitely saw that the problem was that Zen, and just wasn't able to take him down. here. I use that building to try to get out of that line of fire for a bit and remain a problem. One of the things I'm very proud of as Orisa is being very good at making space. So that clearing space, that javelin charge, that reinforce, the javelin throw. Those are all really good at just knocking enemy team members out of position, so that you can kind of do more there. But here, I mean, I was playing well as Orisa. In my head, I didn't think I was playing very well. I wasn't. There were a lot of times where I got really close to taking out an enemy and didn't quite make it, so I switched to Zarya as a character who's better there. Like, I could have bubbled that Junkrat and saved him. Instead, I bubbled myself and wasn't even taking damage. And again, just bubbled myself. But yeah, and that wasn't as bad. The whole thought process behind Zarya was that I needed to start doing damage. Where you do damage as Orisa, but not the same way that Zarya does. Zarya just does insane damage for a tank. And then you saw that Meteor Strike land behind me. I did successfully hide under the bridge to not die from it, but I still keep... And here I'm trying. I'm trying to ignore the tank and go for the squishies, which is actually really working because it's letting the team kind of push some momentum behind me. But here you can see my aim is a little bit off. And so that I should have killed that Junkrat probably at least twice, but he managed to survive that. And there I was just laying fire into a Doomfist so he could have his charged up punch. Got him though, and got the Mercy. So it did feel like the right choice, and I think it was, ultimately, because it's a very aggressive team. They didn't really need Orisa as much as they needed someone dishing out additional damage. And not because the damage players and supports aren't doing their job, they're doing a good job here. But just because the enemy team is really jumping around, making us switch targets a lot, and putting up a lot of opportunities where we should be... when I didn't see that Zen. Just giving us a lot of tough decisions and making it hard to focus down the opponents that should be going down. But it is, and you see me loading into him so he gets a supercharged punch, which he misses, which is great. Yeah, it's a little bit rough watching my aim here. I think my aim is usually not this bad. I was exhausted, but I will say that my aim does definitely need some improvement, which as someone who's played first-person shooters for a long time, that's kind of hard to admit. Overwatch 2 is just such a strange game, just because all of the heroes are so different, their weapons are so different, their kits are so different. It's just, each one has its own personal learning curve that's totally different than the rest of the game. So as you're learning the game, you're also learning individual heroes, and there I just bubbled just in case, because I thought I was about to take some damage and didn't. Bubbling to save from ults is a really good... Oh, jeez. And here I just shot at him. Totally ignoring my team dying behind me. And my thought process there was I could take out Zen quickly, if he wasn't ulting. And I could go and let some of my other teammates come in and join the fight, because I thought they were behind me, but they were in front of me getting killed. So, that's my bad. This was late at night. I was trying to fit in one last game just to do like one more practice game, and this was a really fun, cool one, but it was also one where I was definitely not playing at my best. Still, it's good to look at this and see like, what if I was playing at my best, what still would have been an issue. And right there, not even seeing that practically dead Doomfist. Oh, I could have had him. And here I'm a little gun shy because I've just been killed repeatedly. And this actually worked pretty well. But I should have been a whole lot more aggressive getting on the payload there. And I could have been bubbling that far out to protect her. And here I'm trying to push that advantage. I'd like to say it was very strategic, but also I was just a little cocky because we've just gotten a bunch of kills. But this is more what I should have been doing, is getting in there and flanking a little bit. Not too much, of course. And there you can see that Sojourn just got away from me. And it. here, the thought was to push the objective and just ignore that Doomfist for a bit, which is... on there, I should not have kept shooting him, and I stopped a little bit, but I still gave him quite a bit of a charge there. One thing that's very challenging with Zarya is that reload cycle, because you want to just lay into that beam when you have it. But you end up reloading at really awkward times, so you got to be really careful with that ammo management. And I'm not bubbling friendlies at all, so I'm missing out on one of the most powerful abilities that Zarya has. She's got the shield, she already has armor, she doesn't need the protection as much, and a lot of enemies are going to be shooting at your other players. So there, I think I was stunned, but I could have bubbled him. And that Pharah's just kind of making some space. And here it would have been nice having another damage other than Pharah, because she can't hold on the objective, but she was doing really, really good work there, and I have no... and there, so I bubbled just cuz. Still also getting a handle on how long the bubbles last, and when to trigger them and when is too soon. Of course, it's just rookie mistakes, rookie play. And also not seeing that they were waiting to ambush us there. And that turned into a mess real fast, so that was a really smart play on their part, where they didn't meet us early, they just waited for us to dive in and overcommit. And so if we'd seen that coming and kind of been a little bit more cautious, oh, this could have been so much better. But it was still real close. And here, I should have switched to D.Va so I could rocket in there and be on point. Because if I'd been able to get in there just a little bit earlier, maybe we could have gotten it. As it is, I don't think I even make it in time. And there, yeah, no. So there we go. There was our close game. I really, really enjoyed that game. Not my best play. I mean, I saw some pretty spectacular plays from other players, but yeah. So a lot of notes to learn from. It's kind of fun. Still, I had some good moments. And considering that I've only been playing tank kind of seriously for like a week, maybe 2 weeks at this point, I'm still pretty proud of the play here. Still have a ton to learn, but yeah. This is my now way overwatched replay. But let me jump in there and actually take a quick look at one of the other players. Or not. We'll go ahead and call it. Appreciate the time. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was useful. If you have any tips or tricks, let me know. But again, I am a rookie, and I'm doing my best to learn this and get better at it. So, hey, feedback is good, practice is good, review is good. Until next time.